Welcome again into Strategies for Living, the television version. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan, and I'm delighted that you've tuned in today to Strategies for Living. Well, we're all about helping us live healthier, happier, more peaceful lives in our bodies, in our minds, in our spirits, in our relationships here in the 21st century. And we do that by engaging in important conversations with folks we like to call life strategists. Each and every time we do Strategies for Living, and we have a pretty life strategist with us today. She is Robin Filler, Program Director of the Problem Gambling Helpline at the Louisiana Association on Compulsive Gambling. Robin, welcome back to Strategies.
Thank you. Thank you for having
you
us.
were a great life strategist last time you were here, so
you.
Thank you for coming back. I ask, I always try to ask in March because March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month.
Correct.
And some people will wonder, well, why do we put it in March? And I know you're a big basketball fan, right?
No.
But that's the reason. March Madness. A lot of people watching know March Madness, probably participate a bit in March Madness. The Super Bowl, I think, is the biggest single betting day of the year. But the month of March is far exceeds, because March Madness and the basketball playoffs go on over the period of March, and it is March Madness, and lots of money gets bet, and some of that money a real problem, right?
Correct. Yeah, March, there's a lot of sports betting going on with basketball season. This year, we're particularly interested to see what happens with this sort of explosion of fantasy sports lately. So March was definitely picked for a purpose as our awareness month.
How big is the problem? How widespread is the problem of gambling? Now, we've seen over the last, when I was a kid, Nevada, you went to Las Vegas, you went to Reno, but it just wasn't really an issue. And there's been an explosion all over the country. Lotteries, then the machines, the casinos. How big is the problem of problem gambling in the United States?
Well, we know that 85% of Americans have gambled at least once in their life, 65% within the past year. So of that, about 2 million Americans meet criteria for pathological gambling. And then we have
And that's a diagnostic category. It's in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual that has just recently come out, was propagated for a while in committee, but we started using it last October, and it's in that statistical manual now.
It is. And we have about 4 to 6 million more Americans that we would consider problem gamblers. They're experiencing some difficulties because of their gambling, but they haven't reached that point yet where it's pathological.
Right. So. What makes it pathological? Because many people we have casino gambling here in town. You can play the lottery, the Powerball, all that stuff. So not everybody that goes to the casino is going to have a problem. Not everybody that plays the lottery is going to have a problem. Not everybody that goes to the racetrack is going to have a problem. When do I know I have a problem?
So we know it's a small percentage of Americans who gamble that develop a problem. Typically, it's a problem if you're having to lie to your friends or family about your gambling. If you don't have a problem and I'm your wife and I ask you, how much did you spend today at the casino? You're not going to try to hide that number from me.
I spent $50, sorry.
Yeah, exactly, and we would have budgeted for that.
Right.
If it's affecting your relationships, you're spending hours and hours, or perhaps calling out from work, saying that you're sick, but instead gambling, or hiding from family and loved ones where you're spending your time. So if it's affecting those aspects of your life, your finances, your relationships, any legal problems due to the gambling, those are very good indicators that it's crossed the line and become a problem for you.
Now, if anybody, we're going to give this number often throughout our broadcast today, but the Louisiana problem gambling helpline, 1-877-770-STOP. 1-877-770-7867. That number is staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, right?
Yes, 2 a.m. Christmas morning, you're distraught because maybe you spent the Christmas money. There is someone live there to speak with you.
And well-trained and can help you.
Correct.
Now, people who have a problem as well as people who are in relationship
Correct.
with people who have a problem are welcome to call that helpline
Yes, we
number. It is a
encourage that.
helpline, right?
Yes, we encourage that. Oftentimes, friends and family members are the key for people receiving help, and not just problem gambling, but anything. And there's also services available for friends and family members. There's counseling and support group meetings available for friends and family members. So we're able to offer resources to loved ones, concerned loved ones, and not just the gambler.
You know, some people may wonder, Robin, why has it been so long? We were saying a minute ago that now it's been recognized in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM, the kind of the Bible of diagnoses for psychiatry and psychology. One of the reasons that it probably took so long is, as opposed to drugs or alcohol, which most of us, when we think addiction, we think drugs and alcohol. This gambling is a hidden addiction, isn't it?
It is, and that's why our Awareness Month is particularly important, to raise that awareness about problem gambling, because it is a hidden addiction. It's not something where you'll necessarily smell it on someone or
Right.
see immediate changes in behavior. It's usually something that takes a little bit more digging. It's a lot of time spent away. It's financial problems that don't really have an explanation. Those are the sorts of things that you're looking for when you're dealing with the potential for problem gambling.
Right. As a matter of fact, again, let's say again, you used the example a minute ago. We're married. You do the finances, and you've developed a problem. We've been married years and years. I come home, I bring my check, you handle the bills. All of a sudden, it comes out that maybe by happenstance, I see something in the mail, and we're 3 payments behind on our mortgage. Well, maybe you forgot 1 month, but what about those other 2 months? If we've, in long-term married couples, one or the other, there's a division of labor. So this happens.
And you get comfortable and you get kind of in your groove. This person takes care of this and this person takes care of that. And sometimes it's easy to hide things like that.
So what would you advise? Again, we don't want to stir the pot, and if we've got happy couples out there, we want you to stay happy. But this is problem gambling awareness. What are we asking all of us to do during this month?
Well, we would really like to see treatment providers of all kinds asking the question, do you gamble? Have you ever had to lie about your gambling? Sometimes there are physical side effects. That stress and anxiety over prolonged periods of time can create loss of sleep, loss of appetite. There can be some physiological symptoms that a healthcare professional may be saying can't find an explanation for. So we would like to see friends and family members and treatment providers ask the question, screen for problem gambling, just as you do for alcohol abuse, for drug abuse, and for other disorders. So we definitely want to get it out there, screen.
Right, screen and ask the questions. Again, the key word is awareness. Again, I'm not trying to stir problems up, but it can happen to you. I know I did an intervention several years ago. A typical couple that we're talking about, married many years, and the entire savings was gone. And we're talking about high five figures. And this couple was older, retired, and that money no longer exists. And so there's a lot of heartbreak and heartache that can come into play here.
The financial repercussions can be especially devastating because a lot of times problem gamblers think, oh, next time I'll win it back, so I can keep hiding it. I can keep hiding it because
I'll
I'm
hit the
going
big
to,
one. Yep.
Exactly. I'm going to fix it next time I gamble.
I'm just one win away from solving my problems.
So by the time they reach out for help, it can be an especially devastating financial situation that they're in.
Maybe there's not a typical helpline call, but if there were, how would that go, Robin? What would that sound like?
Yeah, most of our helpline calls, by the time someone has contacted the Problem Gamblers Helpline, they are in a pretty devastating situation. Because there's not as much awareness out there about problem gambling, it kind of takes a lot for them to realize that they have a problem and that they may need to follow up on that number. So a typical call for us would be someone kind of in a crisis situation. They're not going to be able to make their rent or mortgage this month. They're not going to be able to provide something that they've promised their children. They're not going to be able to pay a utility bill. So it's usually reached a point of crisis when they contact the helpline.
Yeah. Is there a single thing that separates out, again, you were mentioning a few minutes ago, gambling is legal. It's a legal thing. So is there one single area or one single thing that says, this is a problem? I'm thinking of something like losing control. Again, you mentioned, okay, we budget $50. And so I take $50 to the casino and then I go through that in 10 minutes, whatever. And then I go to the ATM.
I would say it may be different for each individual because what $50 may be a lot to my budget, but to somebody else's budget, they may have unlimited funds. So maybe it's not the financial, it's the relational. It's spending hours away and hearing complaints from your spouse, but continuing to do it anyways. So for each person, I think it would be when you've crossed the line in your relationships, that it's having a negative impact and you're continuing anyways, or if you've crossed a line in your finances, not being able to meet your obligations and you're continuing to do it anyways.
The month of March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month, and we're talking to Robin Filler. She is the program director for the Problem Gambling Helpline at the Louisiana Association of Compulsive Gambling, and we've got much more from Robin to teach us about problem gambling in Louisiana and in the area. A couple of events to come up to tell you about. Stay with us. Much more strategies for living with Robin Filler to come. Stay with us.
My name is Jessica Ingram. I go to Bossier Parish Community College and I'm a fine art photography major. I decided to go to BIPSI because they have the mass communication program that I wanted, and also it's very affordable. BIPSI offers a bunch of stuff for their mass communication department. I chose photography because it is my favorite art form and I want to make a career out of it. Bossier Parish Community College has a studio for their portrait photographers where you can bring in your subjects and control the lighting and the background so that you can get more studio quality images. They also have a complete Mac lab where you can learn things like Photoshop and editing photos and even film. Not not only are you learning about the techniques with your camera and posing, but you're also learning about the business side of it. You'll know how to handle your money, how to get your demographic going, and just, pretty much what you need to know to have your own business for photography. It's very, very in-depth. It's hands-on, so it's not like you're reading a textbook. You're actually going out in the field and taking pictures and learning from critiquing from the students and the teacher. My favorite part is that we get to learn through peer and professor critique so that you know what, if anything, you did wrong and how to improve your photography and hone your skills. I've come a long way. As you can see, I'm having a gallery. This is my first one. This wouldn't have been possible without BIPC. I've learned so many techniques and how to pose people, how to just be into the business of it all.
Welcome back into the television version of Strategies for Living. I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. You are obviously watching Strategies for Living today, but don't forget you can listen to us. News Radio 710 Keel, Sunday mornings, 9:05 to 10. News Radio 710 Keel is where we started everything, Robin, 23 years ago. Wow. I'm getting old. Wiser like fine wine, I guess, but that's another addiction. www.strategiesforliving.com is another way you can tune into us, as well as Thursdays on healthylife.net. Robin Filler is our life strategist today on the television version of Strategies for Living, and we're glad you're watching. Robin is the program director of the Problem Gambling Helpline for the Louisiana Association on Compulsive Gambling. 1-877-770-7867. 1-877-770-STOP. If you have questions, if you're a family member, if you're someone who thinks you may have a problem with gambling, with problem gambling, call that helpline. These folks are there to help you. They're well trained. They're there 365 days a year, 7 days a week. Christmas at 2 a.m.
Correct.
They're there.
Yeah.
They're there. The month of March is Problem Gambling Awareness Month. We want people to ask the questions, right?
Yes.
Just have the conversation. Ask.
Correct. Yes, we want people to ask if someone has ever gambled before, and if so, have they ever felt the need to lie about it or keep it a secret, because those are indicators of a gambling problem.
Couldn't I lie to you about that? Again, you're coming in and you've watched this show. I'm coming in from work, and you say, sit down, let's have a cup of coffee. Do you ever go to the casino without me? Can't I lie to you about that?
You certainly could, but it plants a seed.
Right.
And it makes it.
And it gives me an opportunity to come clean.
It gives you an opportunity. It plants a seed and lets that person know that you're comfortable with discussing that topic. And so maybe they're not ready to talk about it with you now, but they may in the future, and you've planted that seed now.
Okay.
And we need to screen for it repeatedly, just like we do with drugs and alcohol in treatment facilities. And if a family member is concerned about drugs and alcohol, they typically ask more than once. They come back to that later. We certainly want that same thing happening with problem gambling.
So counselors, doctors, family doctors, family members,
Yes.
have the conversation.
Correct. Have
Don't
the
be shy
conversation.
about it. How can I go if I am a counselor, if I'm a physician, if I'm a family member? is there a place online that I can go to and maybe get some questions about having this conversation?
Sure. Well, first of all, you're always welcome to call the helpline. Second of all, online, our website is www.help4gambling.org. 4 is spelled out. We're also having an event this month for Problem Gambling Awareness Month. It's a lunch and learn for professionals. It will be March 8th, 12 noon to 1 at CORE, our inpatient facility.
I want to talk about CORE a little bit, yeah.
Which is located at 635 Stoner Avenue. CORE's program director, Heather Kleckinger-Craven, will actually be discussing problem gambling and co-occurring disorders. So it should be a really fascinating lunch and learn.
So problem gambling and things like maybe an addiction also to alcohol or depression or anxiety, because there's a lot of crossing over, if you will, that goes on with that.
There is.
Yeah. So that's free to the public?
Yes.
Or free to professionals?
Yes, it's free, and you can actually earn a CEU attending. So we definitely want to encourage professionals to do that.
Okay.
And you can check out our website for the specifics if you need them again in print. We'll also be having an event in Baton Rouge to raise awareness and kind of have a conversation discussing problem gambling. We'll have participants from legislative participants, gaming industry participants, state police, attorney general. Again, just trying to have that conversation and raise awareness. That event will be March 23rd, 9 a.m. to 2 at the East Baton Rouge Library, their main conference room.
All right. So a couple of events coming up to mark Problem Gambling Awareness Month here in March. I want to talk a little bit about CORE, and I want to talk about the treatment options that are available, because one of the things, and you and I were talking about Reese Middleton before we went on the air. Reese did so much. The late Dan Talley and Reese Middleton really combined to start what has now blossomed into probably the best in the country.
Yes.
Louisiana doesn't get to say that often.
No,
Robin.
this is one of the areas where Louisiana has gotten it right.
We're the best in the country. We lead the
are.
nation here in
We
treatment.
We have a full continuum of care for problem gambling. We offer free treatment to Louisiana residents. So that would be a major point that I would want all of your viewers to hear. Free treatment for family members and for the problem gamblers themselves. Of course, a call to the helpline is free, so any questions regarding problem gambling or services can always be answered there. We had 1,120 Louisiana callers last year that received information on problem gambling. Moving on from the helpline, we have an outpatient program.
So CORE, and CORE stands for the Center of Recovery. And CORE really takes care of people from inpatient all the way to coming to counseling, if that's what you want, but specified and specific to problem gambling.
Correct, yeah. Our outpatient program is separate from CORE. Family members can go and speak with a counselor one-on-one, and problem gamblers can go and speak with a counselor one-on-one. The outpatient program may be on a weekly or bi-weekly sort of basis. And then there's the intensive outpatient program, which is a obviously more intensive treatment program where problem gamblers can meet together for 4 nights a week for group therapy.
So you can continue to work during the day, you can go and get intensive outpatient counseling in the evening over a period of days, weeks, depending on your particular case and severity, right?
Correct, yeah. And then there's CORE, which is our residential treatment facility. CORE is residential, so problem gamblers go there, they stay there. And
it's a co-educational facility, but with obviously with separate dorms for men and women.
Correct. And you focus on the problem gambling. You're able to get away from the environment where you were gambling in and focus on your recovery.
How important is that for some people to break the pattern?
It can be
yeah.
extremely important, just like with drugs or alcohol. When you're in that environment that is encouraging that sort of behavior, sometimes you have to remove yourself from it for a while to be able to focus on yourself. Intensive counseling with a counselor, educational groups, budgeting groups, all of these skills. Not to mention that as a problem gambler, you're typically spending extended periods of time gambling. CORE is a place to take you away from that and help you figure out, now what am I going to
what?
do with all this time on my hands?
Yeah, there you go.
That I had dedicated to gambling before. So if you reach the helpline, we can warm transfer you directly over to CORE. You can also call CORE directly at 318-424-4357, and they have a 24/7 intake. So there will be someone there to answer that call 24/7.
A lot of help
as well.
available.
And it's all free to Louisiana residents.
Absolutely. And we might say, again, Louisiana has gotten this right. You take clients from all over the nation because this is a model program
It is.
for any state who is beginning to deal with gambling and gaming in their state. We have built a model program here. So
We certainly have.
tell your legislatures how important that our treatment program here is here at CORE. Especially if you know your representative or your senator and you have an opportunity to talk with them, let them know how important Louisiana Association on Compulsive Gambling is. Robin, thank you so much for coming and being a part of Strategies for Living again. I look forward to having you back soon.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
All right, 1-877-770-STOP. That's the gambling helpline number for you or your family members to call if you need it, when you need it. And folks, thank you for tuning in to Strategies for Living today. If you enjoyed our conversation with Robin, know we do conversations like this with life strategists each and every time we do Strategies for Living. So come back and join us. See you on the radio on Sunday mornings, 9:05 to 10. For Robin Filler, I'm marriage and family therapist David McMillan. See you next time on Strategies for Living.